Hey y'all, it's Crystal coming to you from the beautiful North Georgia mountains. And I'm fixing to have to do some work on my heat press and thought I might walk y'all through it. So I've had this heat press several years. The year on it is actually 2018. That's really the only way, except maybe going through my Amazon and trying to find when I bought it, but it's been several years. And right after I got it, I made these Teflon covers for it. Yes, I made these because I'm sorry, I wasn't paying $20 a piece for these things. So I did a lot of research and I ended up making these, and they were super easy to make. Um, Word of warning, if you do perler beads for your kids, use an extra piece because I ended up messing up my top one, and I'll show it to you in just a second. So let's change our camera angle and I'll show you what we do. Okay, so here's why I have to make a new one of these. Remember I said if you do perler beads, I guess you'll see some of the circles, but I actually had black, I guess it was a black perler beads, and I had circles all over it. And I figured out it stuck to it, and I started using a cover sheet, but then I went to do a t-shirt the other day, and when I did the t-shirt, it had some black come off in it. It didn't ruin the t-shirt, and it was for a family member, so it was okay. I thought, it's Teflon. I will, should be nonstick, you know, and I'm really, like, anything else I've got on these, I've been able to get off. But this, I really had to scrape it, and you can see, I used the LA stuff from the Dollar Tree, and I actually had to use one of my scrapers to get that off. You can still see a few spots. You can kind of see a greasy spot too. So I decided it's time just to make a new one. I've used this one probably since I got my my heat press. And when I got my heat press and I started looking at these were about $20 a piece. And I've used my heat press, not as much now as I used to, but I use it quite a bit. These are a lifesaver. So on the top plate, you don't have to cover it. So you don't have to line up your design and then cover it and then heat press it. It just stays on your heat press all the time. So two, if you're about to forget it, you don't have to worry about that anymore. If I had to do it without these now, I would probably have a hard time remembering because I've just got out of that habit. So because I not only wanted one for my top plate though, I really wanted one for my bottom plate. So this is my second heat press. This one is, it's 15 by 15. I measured it, about 15 and a half by 15. And I had one before that was like, it was 12 inches wide, maybe 8 inches deep. And the problem with both of them though is that bottom plate where your pad is, if you're doing shirts, they get caught on it. So it was constantly a fight to get my shirts on with that. It's rubber. I mean, so it's like almost like a non-slip, and I'm trying to slide something into it, so it just did not work. This works so much better. So I made one of these for the top and bottom. Would have been 40 bucks if I'd bought them, and I didn't. So what do you need to do? Well, you need a big sheet of Teflon. Well, I say big. You need one big enough to cover your plate. So what I did is I measured my heat press, and my heat press, like I said, it's about 15 and a half by 15. So when I looked for Teflon sheets, I found a pack that was 16 by 24. Because that was the closest one I could get to cover my whole heat press. Now, I did not just buy one. I bought, 5 years ago, let's see, I bought about, I want to think 10 of these, y'all, because it was nothing. It was like so super cheap. I bought a bunch of them. I mean, like, I think I got 10 for $10 or something, or 10 for $20. So it was not a lot at all. So replacing this is not bad. So you need a Teflon sheet that's big enough to cover your plate, and we'll cut it down. And then honestly, you need some old t-shirt. This was actually, somebody gave me some t-shirts. They were new, but they were like those Dollar Tree t-shirts. It's really super thin, but this is just t-shirt material that I cut out and I sewed to the corners. If you look at the ones you buy, they are actually bigger triangles, and you could do that, but it doesn't have to be that big. These are little, especially if I turn it. You can really see, kind of turned them like turned it if you sew where my seam was on the inside, just because it looked neater. But I mean, that's that little triangle. That was it. Not a whole lot. You can see look, I even used white thread. Nothing fancy there. So, Teflon sheets, cheap if you buy just the Teflon sheets. Well, what else are you going to do with them? Well, might do another video on pressing pillows. If you don't have pressing pillows, those are really awesome too. And they're super easy to make if you sew it all. Or you know somebody that would be willing to sew a few straight seams for you. But this video, we're going to talk about redoing our covers. So here's the sheet when I got it. And you can see it fills up my whole cutting mat here. So it's almost 24. It looks like 23 and a half by almost 16. And so I just cut it down. So there's still 16 wide, and I just cut it this way, as you can see. Let me put it on my cutting mat. And about 17, okay? Because you think about your Teflon sheet is, kind of line it up on the top here, sorry, 18. So not only are we looking at our plate, but then we've got about an inch lip on each side. So I allowed 2 inches, 1 inch on each side, to kind of wrap up. And that can be helpful. You don't have to. But it worked for mine. So I cut mine to 16 by 18. And then looking at my triangles here, let's look at this one since it's over here at the one position. So 5 inches by, I'll be counting backwards here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 5 by 7, a rectangle cut into a triangle, half there. I can use the other half down here in this corner, and same thing here, okay? And then when you go to put it on, you know, if it doesn't fit good this way, spin it around this way and fit it. But doing small triangles like this too, I found that it works good with your handles. No matter how your handles are, this doesn't interfere with my handles or the base or anything like that. But it holds. Unless I want to take it off, it does not come off. So I'm going to get my pieces cut, and I'll come back and I'll show you my pieces, and then we'll assemble them and see the final product. All right, so I got all my pieces cut here. So let's just review our measurements. I've got them written down here if you can read it. So my heat press was 15 by 15. So I got on Amazon and I found the 16 by 24 sheets of Teflon. And I cut that down to 16 by 18. So that's what I've got here. Now, I did have this piece that was left that's about 6 inches wide. And I don't throw this away because there's times if I'm doing a small project, I actually might need a little bit extra. Like if it's heat sensitive, I may use something a little bit extra. Or if it's really, here's the thing, if it's messy, like the perler beads, that's a small project, it's messy. I want to keep this clean. What else? Sometimes I'll use it like if I'm doing earrings, I can kind of lay it out on that, and then I can just set this whole thing into the heat press. So I don't throw these away. I keep them. I also have out of a t-shirt. Now you can see this is a t-shirt. My kids had outgrown it. It was in the thrift store pile, but it probably should have gone in the trash. As much stains as are on it. I think it's been through all 3 of my kids. Probably some of my nieces or my nephews, not my nieces. Sorry, probably some of my nephews. So I cut 2 rectangles out of the front of the shirt, 5 by 7, and then I cut them in half. I used my rotary cutter. I used my rotary cutter on both of these. Didn't use my fabric one on this one. I don't want to, you know, if you're a crafter and you've got fabric items, like fabric scissors, rotary cutters used just for fabric, you very careful with them. So I've got my crafting stuff. I've got a crafting rotary cutter that I use on paper. I use it on vinyl, you know, anything else I want to cut, all kinds of stuff. That's what I used on this one. And then I have my fabric rotary cutter, and you know, it only cuts fabric. So got these items, and I'll just lay them out here and show you. I am going to turn my corners the same, in that, like, if the long side's coming up here, then it's going to do the same here, and I'm going to mirror that piece of paper off my mat. on the bottom part. Just like that. So I'm going to go to my sewing machine and I'm going to sew these. I want to make sure I backstitch and reinforce each of my ends here, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so I've got everything sewed together, and sewing t-shirt material to Teflon is a little tricky. It does slide. I did put some pins in it. I'm pretty lazy. I put just one in each corner. So Mama had to remove as I was sewing them. Is this perfect? No. You can see some wrinkles in it because it does slide on the Teflon. I mean, it's nonstick, and t-shirt material is hard to sew anyways because it stretches. But it does not have to be perfect. So just a couple of pins, sewed it up. You can see where I did back stitch it, and I just used whatever thread was in there. So let's try it on our heat press now. All right, so here is the finished product. So now I have a cover for the top and I have a cover for the bottom. No more black marks from the perler beads that I did. Lesson learned. I always use one of those scrap pieces like I kept. But here's the bottom one, and this kind of holds together all these layers, because when I would put t-shirts on before, they were sticking to this rubber mat, they were coming apart. This one holds that together. My t-shirts slide really well on it, so if I wanted to like actually open one up and put it on here, I could, and then I don't have to worry about putting a Teflon sheet. It's all there. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe to my channel, and if you would like a video about the pressing pillows and how I made those, leave me a comment below, and that might be our next video. Thank you. See you later.